Welcome back to another SuperCoach video with me, JD. You're joining for the round 22 review, which means we have just 2 weeks left in the season, and we have cracked the top 1K finally, but it is going to be tough to stay there with Charlie Cano, who we'll talk about in a little bit. He's been disappointing. Now, I just want to say I'm wearing the AFLW fantasy cap that I won from season 1, the number 6, I don't know which way is it, that way, number 6 here, off to the side. And the reason why I'm wearing this is a reminder to myself to promote the Free Kick podcast. Liam and the team have been made the official fantasy AFLW podcast, which is a huge achievement for them. So I wanted to shout that out. If you're interested in playing a little bit of AFLW fantasy, I hope there's a SuperCoach version eventually. But until then, yeah, worth jumping on and playing because I mean I hadn't watched any AFLW before last year really, or I mean not much. I didn't know too many players and was able to have success using some of the skills and strategies we talk about on this channel. So recommend you do the same if you're interested in getting into it. All right, so jumping into the side, we scored a 25-8-1 this week. It looked like it could have been even bigger. I feel like I say that every week at the moment, but Sunday was pretty disappointing. And of course, Kerno is going to lead the charge on that one. And we went up 247 spots to get ourselves just inside the top 1K, hoping to end there, of course, for the year ahead. We won some matchups, including Makashi, which is good. So still alive in that, made it through to the semis. Let's go through the back line. Where to start? I mean, so North boys, all good. And we'll talk about Xerri in a second because the 185, amazing. It's going to be a struggle to find a way to do another Xerri thumbnail because it's all I really do at the moment. But he's been deserving them, so we'll get to him in a little bit. Okay, so in the back line here, so yeah, the two North boys, Sheasel and McKercher. McKercher rewarding some of that faith. So for anyone else that's got him, finally got a big score out of him this week. And honestly, against Dogs, we could see another one. Against the Hawks, we could see another one as well. So hopeful for we get a couple more tons out of him to finish out the year. And then, yeah, Sheasel was good. There was a little bit of a rumor in the Discord today that Sheasel may have sustained quite a serious injury. Now, there was a point in the game where he went to interrupt a kick or kick it himself and he collected someone else's foot to his shin, I want to say. But I'm sure he played on from that. So I'm hoping it's just rumors and nothing else. But, yeah, keep an eye out for him during the week. And then, yes, Stewart and Dacos, who... I mean, Stewart in particular has been one of the ones that's been holding up the side over these last couple of weeks. And it did not have a good one on the weekend, which is like somewhat surprising as well. The Saints this week, so hopefully can bounce back all right. And then we've got, Dacos who got tagged. And honestly, this is probably my biggest mistake of the round is that I didn't emergency him. Now, I was just thinking like it's got to be like Ryan, Houston, or Martin, who've been like the kind of like the 90s guys that I should be putting emergency on. But like... I mean, work last week was busy. Like, I didn't really finish in time to actually think about SuperCoach. So I did ask, like, maybe 3 minutes before the bounce, like, had there been any talk about Dacos being tagged? And I got told there hadn't been, so I'm like, I'm not going to worry about it. Anyway, I could have benched him and got Dawson and got an extra 40 points, which would have been handy. So, yeah, is what it is. But yeah, tagged. I think like the next 2 games shouldn't be getting tags now. I don't think. I mean, Melbourne did tag him with A and B, but they've kind of stopped and they've got nothing to play for. And the Lions, I don't think they will tag him. So I think he should be okay for the next couple. Depending on when he plays in that final round, though, I guess you'd have to consider the emergency. And then yeah, Houston was okay. I expected like a bigger score out of him, to be honest, against the D's, but. Not going to complain about a 110 or 111, and against the Crows should be okay. I think he's got a pretty good track record against them. And then the last one, I guess, worth talking about is Nick Martin, who scored the 130, which was good. I mean, I thought there was a chance that he could do well against Gold Coast, but I also thought Essendon would win. So I was kind of right for the wrong reasons. But he looks good in this game. Definitely with getting it into his hands more, and I think he did some nice things with it, to be honest. So, yeah. 5-round average of 112 for Nick Martin. So really hasn't been too bad, despite everything that's kind of gone on in the back half of the year. Only other thing to call out, by the way, is Saad El Haoli. I really need someone. I really need to hear the pronunciation of that name so I can get it right. I think I'm just going to refer to him as Saad until someone else does. He kicked, I want to say, like 1 goal 3 on the weekend, was pretty decent. I mean, we have not been particularly good forward of the ball. Gresham, Menzies both weren't particularly good this week. David didn't set the world on fire, even though I like him in the side. So I think there's a chance he could come in this week. So we'll see. I think if anyone's been holding on to him or traded into him as a loophole, there's a chance he gets a game this week. And then what else? I think it sounds like actually the other side, the blue side, may have copped a bit of a serious injury, which may see him out the rest of the year. If for whatever reason you do have trades, I think like Newman should benefit from him being out, and their last two's all right. So, yeah, I'd consider Newman as the replacement if you got Sard and a trade for whatever reason. But yeah, I think really the thing that helped me in defense this week is the ones I'd been talking about underperforming, where other players might have had like a Whitfield or a Dale or like a Richards. They all did well this week. McKercher, Ryan, Martin all put up big scores this week, and some of those others like finally had down games. So that was pretty handy. I think the defense held up nicely this week. Into the midfield, so Bont, I think, had 4 shots a goal, kicked 2, and still only ended up with a 119, which is a little bit surprising, but it was also surprising to see the Crom get on top in that game. I didn't watch a ton of this Port game because that was the one at the same time Dons were playing, right? Also, it was there's a different game. I'm trying to remember who clashed with now, but I didn't end up watching as much Port as I usually would like to. No, it must have been that game. I'm sure it was. And they had the close win against the Cats, right? Is that right? No, I can't remember. That's bad, and I'm sure it's just here as well. Like this is not hard to figure out. That's right. They beat the D's at the same time. Okay. Cats beat Freo, of course, struggling. So, yeah, Port Boys were good. I think like interesting discussion we had in the Discord around like Juan Francis, the one that I don't own, about whether he's someone that would start next year, because despite the like threat of forward time, he definitely has shown a lot this year, and I think there's a chance he breaks out again next year. So end up being priced at like 100 or something like that. I reckon he goes 110 plus next year. Really like the look of Juan Francis and how he's turning out. So bit of a sidetrack there, but yeah, like that. So yeah, Port Boy's good. Merritt was good. So Merritt was originally my vice captain option. I think last week, so I had Merritt into Bont, and I changed into Cherry in the end, which was good. But if anyone didn't have Xerri, hopefully he did go with Merritt, because 145 I think is very good in a week where yeah, most people were tracing that 185, and there really weren't too many ways to actually catch up to it. So yeah, Sarong, Green, they were both okay. Goulden copped a bit of attention from side bottom of all people, which is a bit surprising. He actually had his number 2. So, yeah, that's disappointing because he's a bit unique. Now, against Essendon this week, who he put he's put 149, 150, and 130 in his last 3 against us. I mean, we're not going to put the time or attention into him, so I see him probably going reasonably large again in a bounce back game this week. He's actually probably in vice captain considerations, given he's a Friday nighter as well. Haven't looked that far ahead, but we'll go through that in a second. And then Dawson put up, I think I want to say like a 130-ish almost in fantasy, but butchered it a bit. I didn't think he was that bad with the ball watching it live, but I must say I'd already benched him at this point, so I wasn't desperate for the big score. In fact, it probably made me feel better that he hadn't put up a huge one. And then his last 2 games are Port and then Swan. So the showdown and revenge game. So hopefully he can finish out the year pretty strong, despite Port not having much to play for. In the rucks, Xerri was amazing. English was a bum. Yeah, I mean, this probably still needed to be Marshall or even Gorn. Actually, people that had Gorn, he put up a 177. So yeah, there must be some people that had some absolutely ripping scores. Like I could see 28, 2900s possible over this, because we had 26. So you had like a Clark over Dacos, it's at 80 point. You had Gorn over English, it's another 100, so 180. That gets you to nearly 2800. You don't have like a Goulden or something, or actually you don't have Kerno, and you have like Moore who must have tonned. That's another 80. Yeah, I think you could get there pretty easily. Okay, so yeah, mid's done, ruck's done. The interesting thing here will be like whether or not people start sharing next year. I think that's now the conversation, how it's shifted for him. It's not just like, is he going to be the best for the rest of the year, which it looks like it probably will. He's got a 3-round average of 160 and a 5-round average of 140, which is insane. Um, but yeah, whether or not he's actually the one that you start next year. So I don't think it will be for me. But if we're talking about in the preseason, we'll explain more then. And then in the forwards, Flanders, Orko, Caldwell, Heaney, Jackson, and Kerno. So much to dissect here. Heaney, one of the best fourth quarters you'll see this year to put up that 144, which is good after a couple of disappointing weeks. Flanders was very good early in that game against Essendon, but felt like he faded a little bit. And then Zorko, I didn't catch enough of that game, but a 120, nothing to sniff at. But these are all the players that we all have anyway, so not a big deal. Caldwell is actually not completely owned, so this 55 is disappointing. I know against a lot of the good teams, he's pretty highly owned, but yeah, yeah, disappointing. And to be honest, he was still around the ball. It just seemed like a bit of an off game. I think he was giving a bit of attention to like standing to like a row or something like that, and he got beaten pretty handily. I thought. So it actually been kind of rare to see him pushed off the ball. So yeah, hopefully we'll get a bounce back from him this week. I could see him going to someone like a Warner or something like that though. So who knows? Jackson, this 81 is actually super disappointing because we had no Sean Darcy and it was against the Cats who were playing Stanley. This had to be bigger. And once again, he was on like 50 at halftime and faded out. Just crazy bad. And then Kerno at 17 and he's probably out for the rest of the year. So yeah, I mean, the last 2 weeks he's put up 47 points total, and this is why we wanted to be able to loop him as a 23rd and not just field him every week. And unfortunately, we've had to field him because of all the other nonsense that's gone on with like Fisher and Baker and like the guys that were meant to be able to open up all the spots have not allowed me to do that, which is very, very sad. And yeah, Dowling, who I was kind of relying on as the cover in the forward line because my 23rd's in back and defense, he got dropped. With Crows winning, I can't see him coming back in, and I don't think there are any major injuries to guys that would free up spots for him. You've got Rankin and Couch back now, so like they're, yeah, like there's not like there's much room in the side. And so really, I'm hoping for like Brown or like Dawson to come back, or maybe even McAuliffe, but. What McAuliffe still listed as injured here, but he didn't get a sniff, even though they had like Dusty and Baker out. And Brown, despite putting up huge numbers in the twos, I haven't really shown any appetite to play him. So I don't know. I'm really like kind of desperate for one of these guys. Actually, McAuliffe is no use to me. So it's like it needs to be Brown, Dowling, or Dawson. And even though Dawson, like, yeah, I think it's the other Dawson that's going to get the call up if any of them do, not him. So I'm very much looking at fielding a 0 here, despite having a 23rd premium for the next 2 weeks, which is going to make it very hard to say top 1,000. Very hard. Going to have to nail some captains and whatnot. Yeah, to have like Dillmore over Kerno in this position would be crazy good, but especially with him with the Richmond matchup this week. All right, let's talk some VCC this week. We'll get it wrapped up there. So, Essendon, Sydney, Friday night. Like, yeah, I mean, Merritt's still the one here that you probably go, but the reality is they probably put Jordan to him, much like they gave Dacos a bit of attention. He's got 132, 139 the last two against them. So yeah, I expect like Jordan goes to him. So Goulden, I think potentially an option here. Heaney, I want to say he's got a good track record against us, so like I don't mind considering him as an option as well. GWS Frio, I wouldn't be touching anyone there. No Sarong, no Green, nothing like that. Melbourne Gold Coast. I mean, I guess if you got Gawn, you could consider the vice captaincy there. And if you've got Noah Anderson, given it's against the D's, depleted midfield, and it's at home, I think you can consider Noah Anderson, left field option there. Got Collingwood, Brisbane. So Neil shouldn't be tagged. If you've got Neil, that's a very good option as well. Port against Adelaide, I wouldn't be touching really anyone there. But maybe could consider like a Butters or something like that. St Kilda, Geelong. So Rowan Marshall owners, I think you can consider the vice captaincy there as well on the ruck. Sunday, first game, we've got North against the Bulldogs. English has been giving up a lot of hit outs, so could I consider Xerri there again still? Possibly. I don't know. It's a bit hard to put it as the C though. Like Dogs have probably got to win. It feels like that's like a typical bunt game. Hawks, Tigers, I'm not looking at anyone there. And Carlton, West Coast, I'm not looking at anyone there. So maybe this is a little bit harder of a week than what I thought. And it's probably because I don't have like the Marshall, Neil, Gorn types, which I see as all as pretty decent options this week. Let's have a quick look at Butters here against the Crows. 124, 134 last two. That's pretty good. I mean, Geelong against like Saints been giving it points to defenders. Like, could Stewart roll back? Sure, but I don't know if I love that over the Butters. Zorko against Collingwood. Would you consider that? I don't know. It feels like his scoring hasn't been that amazing. I really like want to lean into that. What's Bont's history like against the Kangaroos? 157, 169 in the last two, and one of those 157s was this year. So let's put the C on Bont, and we'll probably put the vice captaincy on Butters. And honestly, like with how poor the options are, at least in my side this week, I'm willing to take like a lower score, like a 110, 115. I think I'd be pretty content with from Butters and just lock it in. I mean, maybe Bont's too good to pass up, but if that ankle issue lingers, then that could be a little bit of a concern. Okay, well, that's me for the week. That's the team, how we performed. Oh, actually, we might just have a quick look at the league, see how we're going in the rankings. So let's have a look. Oof. 20 team, we have number 1, 18. Number 2, are we closing? No, they increased gap this week, so probably not catching big footy Div 1. And then I don't think we've got anything in until like 12 or 10. In 12, that's in 3rd, and caught ground on 1st, but lost ground 2nd. 10th, nothing in there. Okay, 8th. In 4th, don't think it's going to get there. In 6th, I think we should be leading that. Yeah, we are. Okay, cool. So 6 and 20 in the lead. Nice. All right, cool. Well, that's me for the week. As always, thanks for tuning in. Catch the official AFLW podcast, the free kick one with Liam and the team. They're very good to listen to. And if you don't know anything about AFLW, they can get you up to speed very quickly for the season ahead. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.